I watched Roots one time when I was young. I don't know, maybe 10 or 11, and it traumatized me. I did not sleep for seems like weeks. I had all kinds of questions about why white people would treat black people that way. And I never read the book. After seeing the movie, even as young as I was, it was traumatizing. And that doesn't mean that Alex Haley did not do a phenomenal job in the book and later in the depiction as shown on our screens. But it was life altering. From that day to this one, I still say I can't watch movies like that when I have to be around other people. I cannot watch the atrocities that have been placed upon my ancestors and yours without feeling some kind of way. And I am very strategic about when I listen or watch things, even something as cinematic as Django Unchained. I still remember Broomhilda getting beat and put in the hot box. I still remember the way that the onlookers would jump, would cry, watching other people receive lashes. And to imagine the skin on your back being split open from the weight, the pressure, the whip of a lash over and over and over again. To imagine being a man, a strong black man, and that being a threat to the very system created to keep you down. And in order to dehumanize you, to strip you of your manhood, they used a tactic called buck breaking, where men would sodomize other men, not for their own deranged pleasure, but as if it were a picture show. They would do it in front of all of the other enslaved people. They would sodomize them, brutalize them, assault them in front of everyone, as if to prove he is not as strong as you think he is, as if to show that he is still subjected to someone else's rule. It was done to strip him of his manhood, to strip him of his ability to corral the troops, to encourage them. It was a form of breaking, not just breaking him individually, but breaking the very fabric of the community. It would break his family because his wife would often see the torture, would hear the screams, the cries. She would be forced to watch. His children would be forced to watch. Other people would be forced to watch. And that wasn't the part that was most hard for most of these men. It was every day after. It was every day people looking at him and then lowering their heads. Not because he did something wrong, but because of the shame that was thrust upon him. It's hard for me to watch stuff like Roots. It's hard for me to read about the treatment of Africans in this country. But it is very necessary. It's necessary to remember that mamas would have to talk to their little girls, 8, 9, 10 years old, to try to prepare them for their bodies being ripped open, to try to prepare them for the assault they were about to experience, to tell them to silence their cries, to wipe their tears, to just lay still because it'll be over. And when you come back, I'm going to take care of you. Those same mamas preparing the foot tub so that when their daughters come back, they can place them in warm water, hold them, rock them, and tell them it will be okay. Not because it will, but because for now, I'm here to explain the atrocities that have been done and will be done to little girls, to tell our little boys to go against the very nature, their very inclination to be men, to tell them to tamper down who they are, to go against their innate being, to stand up and protect, because we were trying to keep them safe. To be a woman, a wife, and be taken from my bed to please a landowner, or because he has company in town, and my husband is forced to sit and wait for me to return after being passed around to the company, and he can do nothing. Or being afraid for my children, because I did not tell my son not to look directly in their eyes. I forgot to tell my daughter to watch where she stands, because she stepped on someone's foot and it could cost her her life. It is very hard for me to watch things like Roots, to learn about history, the very atrocities that have been placed upon my people and some of yours by people who hate black people so much, by people who would love nothing more than to enact a new kind of hatred onto me, you, my children, who would love to ensure that my children do not receive an education, even if their own are not educated, to ensure that they do not have an opportunity to advance, even if it holds their own children back. It is hard. It's hard to know that it was this generation, my parents' generation, they don't like me. They don't like you. And because they don't like us, they don't like the advancement that has happened in our communities with our children, with our knowledge. They keep saying they want to go back to the Gilded Age. They want to go back to a time where industry really thrived, where black people were seen as less than human, where our labor was used only for the benefit of other people, where banks were created off of the number of enslaved black people owners had. You were able to borrow money based off of the property. They keep saying the Gilded Age as if it were not built off of the backs of enslaved Africans. The same banks who we bailed out in the 2008 crisis built their wealth on the backs of enslaved Africans. All of the industry that they tout happened during the Gilded Age, it was built off of the money created by enslaved Africans. And while there are people that I know in real life who support this regime, or support what is going on, I actually know history. And what history tells me is that the reason you do not want to talk to someone like me, someone who is educated, not just about what has happened to my people, but the perpetuators of that violence, whether it was whips and chains, nooses around necks, whether it was the castration of our men or the brutalization of their bodies, whether it was you stripping our little girls, tearing their bodies apart at 8, 9 years old. If I, as a black woman, as a mother, as a wife, I am forced to deal with the traumatic experiences of my ancestors, if my epigenetics have been altered due to the trauma experienced by my ancestors, if I have to deal with that, if I have to teach my children differently than you have to teach your children, because your children are white or they are not black, they are of mixed heritage or Asian or Latino, they do not have the same experience as my black children will. And so I teach them differently. I prepare them for this world differently. If I have to do that, why? Why should you be any better than having to grapple with the atrocities that your ancestors perpetuated? And before you say, oh, my people did not own any slaves, when we say that black people cannot be racist because we do not have the systemic opportunity to be racist, this is a perfect example. Your people did not have to own any people in order to benefit from slavery. You could just be white, and you would be assumed to be right. Black people could not make accusation or testify against white people. Black people could not serve on a jury or hold any elected office. Black people's rights were suppressed for centuries. If I have to grapple with that, if I am up all night, last night, as I was, thinking about black Americans being whipped, their bodies, their skin separating with the clash of the whip, men being hung upside down and castrated in front of everyone, left to bleed out, little boys being taken, stripped from their families, and passed off to a group of men. Men coming in and choosing which little girl they will strip the innocence of tonight. If that's what we have to deal with, why are you better? Why do you not have to wrestle with what people did, with the violence perpetuated against black people? Saying that it should not be taught, that we need to whitewash history, is saying continually that white people are better than black. That you see no need for white people to deal with the atrocities placed upon other people. You will say stupid shit like Jillian Michaels and say only 2% of white people actually owned people, as if every person did not benefit from slavery, even after the abolishment of slavery, until literally 2025 right now. The only reason that anybody would vote for a 34 times convicted felon, someone who is a habitual liar, who has filed bankruptcy, who has proven over and over and over and over again that he is a complete abysmal failure, is because of white supremacy. It's because of slavery. Because, see, slavery has entrenched the thought that black people are inferior. The only reason that anyone would vote for a white man who is completely unqualified over an overqualified black woman is because you are still benefiting from slavery. And if I, as a black woman, a black wife, a black mother, a black business owner here in these ununited states, if I lose sleep at night thinking about the atrocities placed upon my people, thinking about how it impacts us currently today, when I tell my little boy, no, you cannot go and ride four-wheelers with your friends because all of your friends are white. And if anything happens, you are the one that will get blamed. You are the one that will go to jail. You do not have the same privilege. You cannot go out and be a juvenile delinquent. You have no delinquency that is afforded to you. You are a little black boy. And when surrounded by other little boys who do not look like you, the thought is never innocence. It is always guilt. You have to prove not only that you're good enough, but you're better than. You have to prove consistently that you are not guilty. And if I have to do that, why? Why can't you acknowledge? Why can't you take time to see how centuries of harm perpetuated against black people for the benefit of white people, you choose not to see anything wrong with it? And that is why I see so much wrong with you.